Starting off with game 2, and it is going quite rapid. It is Sarah Zyla up against Corey Burkhart. Woo! We just had to get a little bit caught up. That's how they got to game 2 so fast. And it looks like we might actually be in game 3 based on the situation that we've got there. But I do see a Merfolk Branchwalker down the table. There we go. There's to game 2.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
I wonder who's going to win this one.
So, chat, yeah, some people might come in later. Don't spoil the experience for them. It's just between you and us.
2 lands out for Corey Burkhart. Jeskai Control up against Golgari mid-range. 2 mana coming down, and it is going to be Seeker's Squire getting that Explorer. And there's going to be a land to the hand. It's going to remain that 1-2, and it's right back to Burkhart on this Jeskai Control. Heading into turn 3. Now, is this one of those versions for Corey? Is he also on a similar game plan that we've seen of that almost more mid-range Jeskai Control, really heavy in the Dragon plan as well as the Drakes?
Yeah, so here you have Sarah just developing the board, that 1-2 punch of Explore creatures. But in a matchup like this, hitting the lands is actually not great. You need the Fret. You need the board presence. Playing a 2-1 for free mana is just playing in the Jeskai Control's plans, right? Like 1-2 for 2. 2-1 for free. I mean, the Jeskai deck is quite happy because although the Golgari mid-range deck is drawing cards, they're lands. And yeah, Sarah had even a full grip, had to discard one of them, and definitely would have preferred having a 4-free Fret. But it seems that Corey would have an answer anyways, definitely Clarion. Chooses to wait because of that Rekindling Phoenix.
Rekindling Phoenix, now the 4-3 Owl on the battlefield, and it's going to act as an incredible blocker. It doesn't die to either one of these creatures if it chooses to get aggressive, and it's also going to be winning the race. If Burkhart wants to start actually getting in damage through the air, the opposing power is only 3, so it's even a beneficial race.
Yeah, and here Corey is just going to play to beat Planeswalkers, right? The main worry of a deck like Jeskai Control is something like a Vivian Reed coming down unchecked. Mm-hmm. However, the Rekindling Phoenix is a great way to pressure these Planeswalkers. And Corey, on top of that, with a negate in hand and facing a very kind of not that great board, let's be honest. This is not a lot of damage that Sarah's putting on. So as a result, Corey can actually race while defending. But here we see a Ravenous Chupacabra.
So that Chupacabra is going to likely take down the Phoenix. And with 1 mana remaining, I'm curious about if there will be any kind of way to eliminate that remaining egg. Nope.
No, it's just a. It is the most vile of grizzly bears.
To 2-2, swinging in for 4. But hey, the race is now on the favor of Zyla.
I mean, we have grizzly bears 2-2 for 2, and Grey Ogre is 2-2 for free. I don't know if there's an iconic 2-2 for 4.
Ravenous Chupacabra. What are you saying? It's right there on the field.
Oh my! Is that the iconic one? I like this Deafening Clarion, by the way. And Corey getting the egg. Not too worried about removal, since usually the Golgari decks post board have less removal. And the spell you're worried about is Vraska's Contempt, which will get the Phoenix anyway. So at that point, you might as well get it. The only card that really punishes Corey in a spot like this would be something like a Deathgorge Scavenger, since that sometimes gets boarded in just because of the Fret. Corey here, thinking about it, but probably forced to negate. Since otherwise Sarah could decide to take the negate itself, and there's not many other options. Just tanking to pretend that there might have been more.
Now, what an interesting... I always love it when people use their counterspells to eliminate something like a Duress or any sort of hand disruption spell as a way to sort of make the decision of what's going to get discarded, because you're down a card no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty easy decision as a control player, right? You're like, well, I can play this one counterspell I have, or my opponent can see my hand on top of this one counter spell I have being taken. Even worse, my opponent decides to take Lava Coil because that's the more relevant card. So it makes complete sense to just almost always counter it. Unless you have, like, say, 2 or 3 counter spells and mana to cast 1, you might as well let your opponent know about it. But here,
Carnage Tyrant hitting the battlefield, and that Ionize and Lava Coil in hand are not going to be doing much. However, there's a Crackling Drake as the draw. That might be able to get in the way of it, but I don't think that its power and toughness is enough to offer a trade.
And there's a Star of Extinction. I got told that spoilers are not so bad as long as you don't know how it happened. Like, if you know the result, that's bad. That's not necessarily a bad thing. The thing that's bad is being told how it all worked out, because sometimes, I've been told the result of games and I'm like, wait, how did they win? And then I get really engrossed. So you get your answer here, though. Star of Extinction, a really perfect answer to both the Carnage Tyrant and that Memorial to Folly. And wait, are we going to get more value out of this Star of Extinction?
Uh-oh. If it's and remember, Star of Extinction deals that damage to Planeswalkers as well, so even if one hits the battlefield, Burkhart may not even worry about using that Ionize, depending on which one it is.
Yeah, I mean, here, yeah, if there's a Vivian Reed, for sure, you're like, okay. But
Kill
yeah,
my Drake.
Sarah, I think correctly deciding here, well, at this point, I'm pretty, this Carnage Tyrant is enough. I don't need to do more. And it leaves the Memorial to Folly up, so that Corey can't really Star of Extinction it, since I believe the land is the only target. So if you were to destroy the land in response, or sacrifice it, say, to an ability, then the whole Star of Extinction effect doesn't happen. So we're most likely going to see another land destroyed, and then Sarah can return the Carnage Tyrant with Memorial to Folly. I think really heads-up play by Sarah here.
Draws into another copy of Crackling Drake, and that is lining up the mana. I wonder if we're not even going to worry about the Drake at the moment, trying to set up a position where the Drakes are actually the faster spell.
No, I kind of like this position as well from Corey. Corey deciding, instead of going for Star, understanding that the sequence from Sarah is making the Star worst, going for Crackling Drake, plus most likely keeping the counter magic open, and offering to block the Carnage Tyrant with both creatures, with a counter spell for removal. So I kind of like this position from Corey, going, you know what, I can just double block this Carnage Tyrant. The Drakes combined would essentially be a 6/8, which is perfect against the 7/6 Carnage Tyrant. Or, as you mentioned, maybe racing. This is free damage, Sarah down to 9. Now, right now that Lava Coil is dead in Corey's hand. Corey cannot play it on the Carnage Tyrant, and on these Drakes it would be, well, kind of wasteful. So Corey here, hoping to Ionize a creature that Sarah is returning with Memorial to Folly to deal 2 damage, and then that would be 4 damage from each Drake, and that would be the race done. I think
so that's the Ionize, because the Ionize deals 2 damage.
Yeah, so then, and the Drakes go up to 4 power, so that's most likely what we're going to see.
As long as there's no removal spell, and there's a duress to kick it off, which means that now Burkhart's plan falls shy, though he does have that Lava Coil, but he'll only have the 1 Phoenix, and he may have just gotten very punished for this. It's going to knock Sarah down to 7, but this duress leading the way is going to be perfect for that Ravenous Chupacabra to gobble up one of these Drakes and see a really nice swing from that Carnage Tyrant.
Yeah, but that'll put Corey down to 2. But then Ravenous Chupacabra comes down most likely here to kill off a Crackling Drake. At that point, Corey is facing too much pressure and can't kill a Crackling Drake. So we're probably going to end Corey's next turn with Sarah at free life and with a Star of Extinction killing off the creatures, especially now that the Memorial to Folly is gone.
Yep.
Sarah doesn't know Corey's hand. Both of the rest has got counters, so Sarah might be worried about something like an Essence Scatter here, or may go for a different line, something like a Vivian Reed to kill down the Crackling Drake. I'm interested to see what the sequence is here, but Negate is the more common card. Essence Scatter hasn't seen too much play. So yeah, Sarah's still going for Vivian Reed, deciding, it might die to the Crackling Drake, but this Carnage Tyrant's going to mop things up. So yeah.
I mean, Vivian Reed is down for the count, but that Star of Extinction is going to be such a powerful response to it. And then that actually does mean that Sarah's Isle is going to be able to drop down that Ravenous Chupacabra. It might be just another copy of the 4/4.
It's just a 2/2. That's why this is why she played Vivian Reed. It's a 2/2, and Corey's at 2. It is actually that simple. It's just a body.
Star of Extinction, eliminate one of these dual lands. There's not much better in the options.
Yes,
without
Overgrown Tomb. That's the one that needs to go. Die, Overgrown Tomb.
It's a shocking decision.
Burn the swamp and the forest. Burn it down.
And
Sorry.
we've got a land. It's going to go right back to Sarah Zyla, who has got this Ravenous Chupacabra and looking for something else remarkable off the top of the deck. It is 3 life to 2 life on the battlefield. This is such a close hand-in-hand race to the finish. And that Star of Extinction was just a big way to reset the scoreboard when it comes to creatures on board.
I still like both of these players' take here. Sarah deciding not to make any moves so that the Memorial to Folly was active, making the star bad in the first place. Then Corey going for, you know what, maybe I can win this game by setting up this 2-turn lethal with the Ionize. And then Sarah being able to counter that. Corey forced to use the star, and now we're in this really tense situation. Sarah deciding whether to play the Chupacabra or not here, since it would be a lethal attacker, but it also would fall foul to a Deafening Clarion off the top. And if something like a Crackling Drake or a Niv Mizzet come down, that would be also horrific. But decides, you know what? I want to try it.
The odds aren't bad.
Corey has the Lava Coil and now has the Ionize. This is going to be of close. Yeah.
This is going to be Lava Coil taking down the Chupacabra, and if Zyla tries to develop the board at all, going to be ending up at 1, and we might be in a situation where both players are at 1 life, living off the top of the deck.
Yeah, this is getting countered.
Wild Growth Walker comes down, Ionize eliminates it, and now Corey Burkhart at 1, Sarah Zyla at 1.
But Teferi,
oh
no! Probably going to minus a Llanowar Elf, one of the more unusual.
It's going to be the 3rd card down, and then it is going to be living off the top, but now Burkhart is going to be drawing 2 cards per turn.
Yep, there he goes. And now Sarah hoping to draw a threat. Man, that Teferi, Hero of Dominaria on the top.
Carnage Tyrant off the top. Let's see it.
Brought it on.
Okay.
Good enough. Good enough. But Corey has 2 draws. Ooh, an Ionize. This could be... And Lava Coil.
Lava Coil takes that one down.
The perfect 1-2 punch.
And now any spell that Sarah Zyla casts.
Yeah, this is it. Corey's taking it down. Just drawing the perfect 1-2 punch of Lava Coil to deal the onboard threat and Ionize to deal with Sarah.
If it's a spell, that means the
If it's a spell, it's a spell. It's any spell.
Vraska's Contempt. Ionize takes it down.
You can see Sarah. She's just like, what the? Come on.
Of the 2 draws to get the 4 damage and the Ionize, let's head into Game 3, and it's an Overgrown Tomb tapped. Oh, you gotta shake it off and head into Game 3. Sarah Zyla.
That was a game. That was definitely a well-played game by both sides, coming down to the wire. And, you know, her decision to play that Chupacabra earlier actually almost paid off and in dealing more damage. So that was, you know, I thought like the take from both players was really nice here.
And we've got a Branchwalker on the battlefield, this time getting its +1/+1 counter. It's a 3-2 heading into the 3rd turn. Burkhart no plays yet, an Island.
Also, imagine if that Explorer in Game 1 had hit a spell.
1 more damage at any point in the game.
That's how it works, right? But yeah, a good... Also, Thrashing Brontodon, really nice against these Jeskai decks. It survives Deafening Clarion, which is a card they keep against the Golgari mid-range decks, and it deals with a card like Ixalan's Binding that might come out of the board. It's both a good threat and answer, and all in a free mana package.
Dinosaurs are great.
Yeah, well, I know, but they went extinct last game. I like the Deafening Clarion on the Merfolk Branchwalker. You know, this is like a spot removal spell.
A 3 mana.
Also, Brontodon survives Justice Strike.
Actually, that's true.
Yeah.
Good thing it's not a 4/4, then it'd be worse.
Man, that 4th point of toughness. But with Lava, the reason you're not seeing more Brontodon in Standard is really because there's a lot of Lava Coils running around. So, you know, it's a little weak to Lava Coil, and that can be a problem.
And we've got Wild Growth Walker on the battlefield, the 1/3 that, if Xylus untaps and starts playing down any of these Explorer creatures, is going to start gaining quite a bit of life.
Perfect answer to the Phoenix, Vraska's Contempt, deal 4 damage.
And the way is open. Let's swing in for 4. Burkhart is under quite a bit of pressure, just trying to come up with some way to develop either his own board or answer the one of Zyla. It's a Crackling Drake, and it's going to be right back. We've got lands in hand.
And a Teferi was drawn there. But you can see why these, you know, Corey's forced to tap out. This counter magic in Corey's hand has very little value, just because there's no way to develop a threat plus have it. That's why Teferi has been so good. But if this is Vivian Reed...
Oh, no.
Oh, it's Doom Whisperer. Okay.
I mean, I'm for it.
I do wonder, though, if an attack was possible here. I mean, the Drake was just a 1/4, so we could have at least dealt a point of damage here by attacking with both the Brontodon and Wildgrowth Walker. So it seems like a point of damage was missed here.
That Doom Whisperer, a 5-mana 6/6. It's got flying, it's got trample, and every time that you pay 2 life, you surveil 2.
Very good against control. And I mean, gigantic flyer. We haven't seen it much because it used to be in a lot of the early Golgari mid-range decks that were doing well, but then, Golgari mid-range does well, and Vivian Reed is on all these decks, and Doom Whisperer not very good against Vivian Reed's bow.
No, the hero of Dominaria jumping into the fray, going to use that plus loyalty ability, draw a card, and we're going to be untapping with 3 mana available and an Ionize in hand. Now things are looking a little bit dire for Xyla, who's got this Doom Whisper as the lone way to try and deal pressure, though that Crackling Drake only a 1/4 right now.
And interestingly here, Sarah not surveilling, say, on upkeep once all the information is acquired. Probably just had already the right play to make this, one of the better possible plays to make this turn, or worried about a counterspell and not wanting to get a 5-mana Fret. So something like Jadelight Ranger plus something else would already be the best available option. So at that point, not wanting to surveil. But that combo of Wildgrowth Walker and Doom Whisper, if this Jadelight Ranger resolves, that's a lot of life. And that's why Corey does it. It would turn the Wildgrowth Walker into big Fret. It would mean that the Doom Whisper essentially gets to surveil almost for free, since Sarah would be at 28.
Yeah, and that's 6 life. You could just surveil 6 times.
And here, I'm actually interested in what the attack was, but it seems all at Corey. And there's definitely a world where Doom Whisper could have attacked the Fairy here. But yeah, deciding to play, yep.
Oh, so
And now I understand why there wasn't a surveil. Jadelight Ranger plus Find was already the best possible turn in the face of a single piece of counter magic. But here, Corey's going to be able to minus it to Fairy. Put the Doom Whisperer third from the top, and that's going to be and that was why I was a bit surprised about the attack to Corey.
Corey's at 3.
That's why you do it, right? But I feel like Corey's position. I mean, Sarah might have been worried that Corey had access to another Teferi, and that would be the most likely reason to attack Corey directly. Is if Corey has another Teferi, Corey can just slam that Teferi minus the Doom Whisper and at more life take control of the game anyways. So Sarah going with
Burkhart's hand though. All lands and this Crackling Drake, so he needs to draw something good because he is just about out of resources despite looking like he's got a full grip.
Yeah, and Corey being very patient on this Teferi Hero Dominaria activation, because if Corey got to draw, say, a Seal Away, he could just go, I'm going to plus and get the Doom Whisperer later. But here Teferi, there's no Seal Away to be seen, so we're seeing Teferi go minus. Sarah here tanking on whether or not to surveil 2. I think the first surveil 2 will occur, but then how much more do you want to do after that?
And the tricky part there is that there's already sort of this predetermined, so to speak, 5 mana for this turn. There's already the Branch Walker in hand as well as the Jadelight Ranger.
Yeah, with the Wildgrowth Walker, but there are... you can still make sure to draw a powerful card. So Sarah keeping a card on top, this seems reasonable. It also kind of tailors your future draws, right? You get to draw a good card for the next turn. That's why she's surveilling again. No, okay, yeah, just putting it for Teferi. That makes sense. You already know your top card. I think unless you had a boatload of life, it wouldn't make sense to try to stack the top 2.
And that is going to also equal 3 +1/+1 counters onto this Wildgrowth Walker. It's actually going to end up as a 4/6 as well, which means that it could get aggressive, and it would take both Drakes to kill it.
Yeah. Also, with the Explorer creatures, you definitely do not have to go further. You can just get rid of the card if it's no good. So, yeah, here, drawing the Swamp, Doom Whisperer is going to come back next turn. Or, assuming no counter magic. And, yeah, here, Corey at 3, Teferi at 2. Sarah's just trying to get over the finish line to take this one down.
Any sort of way to deal pressure, going wide with this board. You've got the Brontodon. You've got the Wildgrowth Walker. This Jadelight Ranger is going to be a 3/2. As a 4/3, it probably would have been much more desirable.
Yeah. But here, it makes sense to grow the Wildgrowth Walker to 4, essentially, since attacking with the Brontodon and the Walker here would force Corey to essentially block each with a Drake, since there's no other block available, so that one of the Drakes gets killed in this process.
And then you don't lose your Wildgrowth Walker, where if you just attacked with that, they would both be able to combine to kill.
Right. Or, you have to attack with the Brontodon here, essentially. But Corey just drawing infinite lands. And that's going to do it.
Whoa, and Sarah Zyla takes it down. You can see the excitement there in her reaction, and that is a huge win heading into this one.
Yeah,
two losses.
I mean, usually in Grand Prix, you know, like the top 8, the record for top 8 is 39 match points, so 13 wins and 2 losses.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get in at 37, 12 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. But usually that third loss is, if you're looking for the top 8, that's kind of usually it. And Corey Burkhart just took his third loss. Sarah still in the running, though.
Yeah, seeing that is just fantastic. So what a great way to come towards the end of this round. Now, we are going to have more coming back. Round 12 upcoming with Reed and Maria. We'll be right back after this.